Hello, welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is, beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. This is going to be our 53rd parable and the fifth parable in the theme of managing. Still one more to go. And this parable is the parable of the talent. Yes, the parable of the talent. We've been moving like a staircase, like you're moving as you go along on the staircase, you're going higher and higher. We started from the rich man and Lazarus that was able to expose external neglect, the tragedy of a life too distracted to see suffering at the gate. Then we moved to the rich fool, which exposed internal illusion. I'm safe because I've stored enough. Then we moved on to the unjust steward, which exposed allegiance. Money always tells the truth about who you are serving. Then the time miners, which widen the frame. Stewardship becomes expectation and leads into authority. Now, Jesus brings it all the way down from systems and resources to the place we can't hide. Your personal obedience, your personal fear, your personal responsibility. Yes, because by the end of it, you can't say, I didn't have the same opportunity. You can't give Jesus excuses. I didn't have the same gifting. I'm not like them. God didn't give me enough. My life was too hard. Jesus answers all of that before you speak. He gave in proportion to ability, and He still expects faithfulness from you. So for us to be able to understand this parable better, it would be a good idea for us to read the Bible verse for the parable, which is Matthew 25 verses 14 to 13. 14 to 30. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, the master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I've earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I've earned 2 more. The master said, Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I'll give you many more responsibility. Let's celebrate together. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant, and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I will lose your money, so I hid it in the heart. Look, here is your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gather, crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten more interest on it. Then he ordered, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow. That's really deep. When you look at this parable, there's quite a lot of similarities to this parable and the last parable. But let's focus on what the core movement of this parable is. Number one, the master entrust. This is the most important word in this story. The money is not a price. It's not wages. It's trust. The parable is saying God doesn't only give gifts, He gives responsibilities. And your life is not merely yours to enjoy. It's an entrusted assignment. Do you want me to repeat it again? Your life is not merely yours to enjoy. It is an entrusted assignment. I want you to underline those two statements, because we come into this world and we get carried away that when we left the master, we agree with the master. I'm coming into this world to come and carry out this assignment for you. Then you get to the heart. What happens? You lose yourself. You forget about who you are. You didn't even know that you came from above and you were given a destiny, a purpose for you to come and live on earth. Papa entrusted you with the prize. He entrusted you that I'm giving this 5 talents to you. I'm giving this talent to you. And I know that you will be able to go to the earth, use it, and multiply it. Why do we forget this? I think that's the saddest part. Why do we forget that we are not supposed to be living for self? That we're supposed to be living for God. And you get back to heaven and you are still led by self. You're not letting go of self. You hang on to it. But what happens? As we go along the parable, we will see. Number 2, the measures differ, but the expectation does not. Some get 5, some got 2, some got 1 in this parable. Different measures, same command. Do something with what you've been given. This is what collapses comparison. Because comparison always tries to shift the blame. I had 5, I'll do some. If I had 5, I'll do something. If I had their confidence, I will obey. If I had their network, I will serve. If I had their time, I will build. But the master never asked the 1 talent servant to produce 10. He asked him to be faithful. So stop comparing. Stop comparing your life. Stop comparing your destiny with another person. Not everyone is going to have a big platform. Not everyone will be well known. Not everyone will have the fame. But we've all been called and we've all been given according to the measures that God thinks we can cope with. So there's no escape. And that calling doesn't end on earth. That calling follows you to heaven. You can't get to heaven and say that, oh, I don't have that type of talent that John Lennon has. That's why his music is great, because oh my God, he was one of the best musicians on earth. I'm not like Michael Jackson. That's why he's doing successfully well. Are you using your own talent in the measure that you've been given? Michael Jackson was not born successful. He had to start by using his talent at a very young age. He's the one that can tell you the story of the pain, the suffering that he went through in the industry. And over time, the talent increased. It multiplies because he was using his talent. And he got to heaven. He went in with the same mindset. Use his talent to still maintain that same status that he had on earth, even so much more better now. So, what is asking of you is faithfulness. Stop comparing. Stay in your own lane. Number 3 says, 2 servants risked, 1 buried. Yes. The first 2 began to invest. They moved. They engaged. They accepted the possibility of loss, misunderstanding, criticism, delay, because stewardship is not safe. But the 3rd servant did what fear always does. He hid it. He didn't waste it with partying. He didn't steal it. He didn't run away with it. He simply refused to risk. And Jesus makes this stunning point. You can protect what God gave you and still be disobedient. Yes, you were disobedient for protecting it. Because you were supposed to use it. You were supposed to trade it with it. You were supposed to multiply it. And do you even know what? Jesus is very generous in this parable. When we look at it today, the first 2, when we look at the ratio of people that utilize their talent to the ones that have not, maybe we'll say ratio 1-3 or even less. A lot of people just they just eat their talent. They know they've got the grace to be able to teach, but they are not willing to do that. They just want to sit on those gifts and then compare themselves to another person. And Jesus is asking you now, did you do what you could have done with what I gave you? Did you? And when you look at this parable, this is one of Jesus' most sobering messages. He doesn't entrust equally. He entrusts wisely. So nobody is crushed by an impossible assignment, and nobody is allowed to pretend they had none. The distribution itself is a statement. He knows you. He measured your capacity. He accounted for your life. He gave you what matched you. So the question becomes unavoidable. If he tailored the trust to your ability, what did you do with it? And the battle underneath it is not finance. It's faith. It's trust. The first 2 do something very simple. They act. They risk. They move. They engage the assignment. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, not publicly, but faithfully. You can ask me, I'm doing this assignment not because it's convenient, but I know that is what I've been called for. And that gives me purpose in life. And once you walk into your purpose, even with mistakes, continue. God sees you. But don't be like that 3rd servant that is burying his talent. And if you've been burying your talent because you're afraid, let this parable be a message to you, whether you are in heaven or not. Because burying is what fear calls wisdom. I was afraid, so I hid it. But this is the moment managing becomes psychological and spiritual, because the servant isn't saying I hate you. He's saying I don't trust you. That's what you're telling God. I don't trust you. You gave me this and I don't think I'm capable. So I don't trust you. So I let go. And this is sad, because God expects us to trust him. Let's look at this analogy. Imagine a parent funds 3 children differently. One child is given 50,000 to start a business because they have skill, support, and access. One is given 20,000 because they have potential but fewer resources. And one is given 5,000 because they are fragile, inexperienced, and easily overwhelmed. Then the parent says, whatever you do something, learn, grow, build, try. 2 children take the money, they start small, they make mistakes, they learn fast and multiply. But the third opens a savings account, leaves the money untouched and says, I was afraid of losing it. I didn't want to fall. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be responsible. But part of investing is losing it. It's okay to lose. You learn from losing. And the more you try, the more successful you become. But if you never try, you never know. So when the parent returns, the issue isn't you don't become a millionaire. The issue is you refuse the point of the gift. You treated trust like a threat. That's the third servant. He preserves the seed and refuses the harvest. Yes. And notice the third servant's words. Master, I knew you were a harsh man. This is not just fear of failure. This is a distorted view of God. How many of us have got a distorted view of God, and because of that, it has impacted our relationship with him. It has limited us from having intimacy with him, because we believe that we don't deserve to be his children. We believe that we are not being called. We believe that we've not been adopted into his family. And because of that, because you see him as a God that you fear, just like I did 2.5 years ago when I started a conversation with heaven, I was so scared of God. Just like I did at the beginning. And that fear impacted the relationship I had up until 2.5 years ago. Until Papa started speaking to me, told you don't need to fear me. I love you. I love you. He had to continue to build layers and layers of trust for me to be able to let go and say, yes, this Papa loved me. I've seen it. He's proved it. That distorted view impact how you trade. Maybe trade is not the right word. How you use the talent, the giftings, the resources, the opportunities he has given to you. Many believers bury their calling, not because they hate God, but because they secretly believe God is unsafe. So they live with a quiet inner theology that says God is hard to please. So there's no point of doing it. God is waiting to punish you. If I try and fail, he will reject me. It's better to do nothing than to risk being seen. But the master exposes the lie. If you truly believe I was harsh, you will have at least acted with basic wisdom. The servant's reasoning collapses. And that is why Jesus calls him wicked and lazy. Not because he didn't have talent, because he didn't have faithfulness. Yes, he didn't have faithfulness. And it's very sad that a lot of people do not believe in God, including me. I feared God before, and I never knew I had any value in the kingdom. And so many times Papa said it to me, Tolu, I need you more than you need me. The first time he said it, It brought tears into my eyes. And as I'm saying now, it's making me emotional. Because I look at my life, I look at my experiences of life. I don't even think I had any talent. I don't even think that there's something it can use my life for. I didn't even know that there's any gifting it can multiply to bless his kingdom. Now, when he looks at me, I say, Tolu, you're so important to me. All I keep asking myself, what if I didn't take the risk? What if I didn't persevere through those first few interviews that was so scary, so nervous? People think I get it together. I come dreading those interviews. Not just with Papa, even the ones I did with the saints. Because there were so many things that comes to my mind. You're not good enough. Someone else can do it better than you. I keep coming. I keep coming. I keep coming. And I'm telling you, if you're out there and you've buried your talent and you've allowed the fear to overcome you to the extent that you are so scared to take that talent and start using it, I want you to be encouraged that 2.5 years ago, I was a broken widow. And I didn't know how God was going to heal me. I thought my life was done. Then he came knocking at my door. And he said, Tolu, I need you more than you need me. But I didn't hear I need you more than you need me until maybe 1.5 years into the task. I first of all had to trust. I first of all had to believe that there must be something in me that God needs for his kingdom. So I let go. I let go of me. I let go of fear. And I started using those talents every day. I don't like public speaking. There's so many things. I don't like attention. I don't like fame. I don't like any of this. But I took on the task. And there's nothing different from day one today. This day today is like I can give glory to God of how intimate I've become with him. But the posture of my heart is still a humble servant, a humble robot for God. I can never get to a stage where pride will ever come, because it's never going to. Because my life is about him. There's a purpose that has been given to each one of us. And when you can let go of yourself, even if you feel shameful, even if you don't like the way you talk, even if you don't like the way you look, whatever you don't like, just let go. And allow him to multiply that 1 talent, that 2 talent, that 5 talent. Because if I didn't say yes, maybe heaven will not be experiencing the revival it's experiencing now. I don't know. I don't know what God has got. Maybe he's got another plan B. But whenever you say no, whenever you sit on that talent and you say no, you are denying either yourself, you are denying God, you are denying people that will benefit from your ministry, you are denying them of that. So don't look at yourself alone. There are layers of people that are depending on you. Now, I can't walk out of this ministry because it's my calling. And Papa depends on me. Heaven depends on me. I have to continue to show up. So I'm begging you, if you are listening to this, don't ever think that you are useless, because you are not. Because when you bury your talent, what does it really represent? This is not about laziness. This is not only about work ethic. It is not even about productivity. The buried talent is the picture of a life that says, I will not risk rejection. How? How are you going to even Papa risk rejection? He's rejected all the time. I will not risk failure. I will not risk exposure. I will not risk needing God. So the talent goes into the ground. And the ground here is symbolic. The place of self-protection. The place of how stay safe. The place of at least I won't lose it. But in the kingdom, safety is not faithfulness. Are you going to jump into what God has created for you? The third servant speaks and exposes his heart. I knew you were harsh. And that's why Jesus says something chilly in both the 10 minors that we discussed and the talent. Out of your own mouth, I will judge you. Because the master doesn't judge the action. He judges what the action reveals about the servant's view of the master. And this is where the parable becomes painfully modern. Many believers don't bury their talent because they don't care. No. And if you're still thinking that God does not care, if you're still thinking that God is quick to punish, if you're still thinking that it's impossible to satisfy, I want to tell you that devil has lied to you. Don't choose a careful life. Don't choose a life of religion instead of surrendered risk, instead of a surrendered life. You attend, you nod, you sit, you survive. But you don't trade with the talent. You just want to continue to go through the rigmarole of religion. You don't want to be useful. You just want to continue to be safe. And the master's response is devastating and precise. It calls the servant wicked and lazy. That sounds harsh until you see what Jesus is doing. He's tearing off the costume because the servant presented fear as humility, but the master exposes it as refusal. And then comes the part people try to soften. Throw this useless servant into outer darkness. Whatever theological debates people have around outer darkness, the weight of Jesus' one is clear inside this parable. A life that consistently refuses to worship is spiritually dangerous. Not because salvation is earned by hustle, but because refusal to steward reveals a refusal to surrender. So if you are in heaven and you still not want to steward anything, that means you're still refusing to surrender. And surrender is the doorway into true discipleship. Surrender is the way that we can grow. You can grow. Jesus is growing through surrenderness. Papa is growing through surrenderness. Holy Spirit is growing through surrenderness. We all have to surrender. So, to those who use well what they are given, even more will be given. This is not capitalism. This is cultivation. Use strengthens capacity. Practice matures your gift. Of course, I've grown. Go watch my first interview with God and go watch my latest interview. You see that I've grown. Obedience expands authority. In other words, the kingdom entrusts more to those who demonstrate they can carry it. My question is, have you demonstrated that you can carry it? If you've not demonstrated that you can carry it, the ones that God has given the authority, there is no need of you being jealous of them or comparing your journey with them, because your journey is not the same. We all have to demonstrate that we can carry the responsibility that is going to hand over to us. And this is a message that we all need to look at our life and see, how do we carry God? Do you believe everything that God says to you? Do you love Him? Do you surrender to Him? And the climax for this parable is not even the reward. The climax is this: the servant returns the money. He gives back the exact thing he was entrusted with. Meaning, he didn't destroy it. He didn't steal it. He didn't waste it. He simply returned it unchanged. And Jesus is exposing this terrifying truth. You can keep your life clean and still be unfaithful. Because faithfulness is not merely avoiding evil. Faithfulness is obeying the entrustment. I've mentioned this earlier and I'm repeating it again. It is about your faithfulness. It's about the ability for Him to be able to entrust you. And can He entrust you? And when you look at it so far, the theme of managing has been stripped down to one final issue. It's not wealth. It's not injustice. It's not strategy. It is trust. And so the question Jesus or Papa is asking you now is, did you trust the giver enough to risk what He placed in your hands? Did you trust the giver enough? That's a question that you need to answer yourself. Where are you? Do you trust Him? Because if you allow fear will make you odd. Fear makes people bury gift. Fear makes people outsource obedience to someday. Fear makes people hide behind compassion. Fear makes people call passivity as humility. Fear makes people call disobedience wisdom. Yes. And that's why Jesus said, to those who use well, what they were given, even more will be given. And from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. For a long time, I didn't understand that. But now I get it. Because it's not cruelty. That's the kingdom reality. Unused trust is removed. Because the kingdom cannot be built on buried seed. It has to be built on people that are willing to go out there and work for the master. So if you've not been given, ask yourself, is it because I've not been able to demonstrate to God that I can be trustworthy? Is it because I've buried the ones He's given me already anyway? So why is He going to trust? So start being faithful with the little that you have. Start being faithful in the hidden. Start being faithful where no one sees you. Just continue to do your own work. God sees you. The parable doesn't end with gentle disappointment. We know it. I've said it earlier on. It ends with outer darkness. Why? Because Jesus is telling the church, you can be near the master, know his language, call him Lord, and still live a life that refuses his assignment. And you can be in heaven as well and still do the same thing. And this is a wake up, because we move into let me rephrase it. This is a wake up as we are moving into the timing of preparation for Jesus' coming. You need to be actively involved in the kingdom of God. And that's why you need to start asking yourself, what have you buried because you were afraid? Not what you lost, not what you tried, not what you failed at, what you refuse to even put into motion. Because in the kingdom, faithfulness is not measured by comfort, it is measured by obedience. And when the master returns, he doesn't ask, were you as gifted as them? He asks, what did you do with what I entrusted to you? So what are you going to tell him? So, as we close, the only place left for Jesus to go is the courtroom. Because after justice and blindness, that was Lazarus, security and illusion, the rich fool, allegiance and strategy, the unjust steward, expectation and authority, the 10 minors, trust and responsibility, the talent. The last parable must be the final evidence, which will be going next, which is the parable of sheep and goat, the final audit of fruit and mercy. Because ultimately, Jesus will not ask you what you claimed, what you posted, what you intended, what you felt. He will ask what your life did to the vulnerable. And I hope you are able to fully recognize that managing was never mainly about money. It was always about love. It was always about service. It was always about selflessness. It was always about giving your all. I hope you've been blessed with this parable, and I shall see you in the next parable, which is the last parable of the series. God bless.